that's how you start a podcast right there. Ugh, I don't know where that's coming from, but...
All right. Well, it looks good.
Do you guys remember your question?
I thought, weren't we just doing, like...
Where's the notepad?
I texted it to the group, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
The notepad's right there. It's a secret notepad.
Okay, so... None of this is new. These are the old 3 questions.
Yeah, I think we got it on the group chat. Let's see.
Let's write down what the new questions are. What's
Alright.
the date today?
It is the 9th. It's the 9th. So, Matt, what did you get at City Hall? Just a regular thing?
Yeah, just a super generic one.
What did you think of it?
It's pretty good.
On a scale of 1 to 10?
I haven't really had a lot of cinnamon rolls other places. I've only had like the ones you get at like Smith's and then make them in the oven. Compared to those,
you
it's
mean
probably like
you bake
7.5, 8,
them.
something like that.
It's pretty good. I like it.
It's
For
pretty
like
good.
just a generic... I mean, obviously, it's made by hand, but just a pretty basic thing.
I think that like the weirder flavors, I have less hope for those.
I think...
It has to be something like specific to your palate, but they have a lot of options, so you could probably
they
find
have
something.
a lot of different things. I think I get like the cookies and cream one. I don't remember if that's flavor or not. I just haven't been there in a long time.
I don't know. I was thinking about trying the peanut butter one, but at the same time, I'm like,
I just smell.
it's peanut butter frosting, and then you can get like chocolate on top.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's probably 1,000 calories.
Cheat days.
It's not here.
Oh,
It's not there.
Well, it's not on my phone.
Hold on a second.
How
That's all.
satisfying.
There you go.
What are, I'll entertain the viewers. What are the 2 dirtiest animals on the farms?
What is
Never
the
mind.
most optimal school system?
Yeah. Alright, I don't think it was exactly that. It was just
How to improve it?
how do we improve it, more or less.
Well, I was because that was my question. I was thinking like it started with how do we improve it, but really the question I was asking was like what would be like optimal?
one?
Yeah, just generally. I mean, because like testing is kind of weird. Like, and obviously these are things that could be measured, but I don't think they have been, or else we would drastically change the school system.
I think we could just give a general idea, obviously.
Yeah,
We don't,
that's just something I want to talk about.
know
It's going to be
exactly.
interesting to hear you guys' opinions. But then I changed it to what is
No backsies.
most likely the meaning of life.
No backsies.
Well, I had both of them on there. And then I think it was yours, or it was Iram's.
Whichever one
Wait,
did.
which one is it?
Well, most people that went to Liberty, they say Iron.
How do you say it?
I don't know. I just let people say whatever. I think I had a few professors and teachers that said Iram or Iram.
What do you prefer?
Iram, I guess.
Give a shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't really care. You can say either one. You can call me all of them.
All right.
Iraq.
Irrelevant.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
That's too many syllables, first of all.
But no, one of yours was where do we get our morals? I think that was Connor's, but I might be mistaken.
I think it might be. What's the other question?
I didn't have another question on here.
Oh, that's
Connor,
right.
do
I
you
don't think I
remember
ever
your
answered.
question?
I don't think I ever gave a question. So it must be Connor's. Maybe.
Either way, we have 3.
Okay,
We have the school one. We have what would most likely be the meaning of life if you guys still want to do that one. And then we have where do we get our morals? You guys want to do those 3?
Sure.
I bite my thumb at the... What if I bite my thumb off? Alright, which one are we starting with?
The first one is the school one. If you guys want to do that.
The perfect school system.
Well,
I feel like we should start off with what's wrong in the school system that we have now.
Man, that's too much.
Duh. What are the major problems you see in the school system that we have now?
Teachers don't give a fuck
Okay. Why don't teachers give a shit?
because they're not paid enough.
I
Is
think
it
there's
just
more to it
that?
than just that.
I think that if we paid teachers more, it would make it
would
harder to be a teacher. Like, more people would want to be teachers if they were paid like doctors and shit like that.
Yeah,
which would cause more people to flock to it, which would cause like the cream of the crop to come to the top, and those people would actually become teachers. Like, you know, you can go to med school and everything, but it's hard, and then it's hard because so many people want to do it because it's like it's a hard thing to do. Being a teacher should be a hard thing to do. It shouldn't be easy.
Yeah.
I think it depends on what you're doing.
Have a teach class.
I think even elementary
what
school.
grades you're going for, because like
I think even elementary school, like those kids are so impressionable. If you're not like
that should be harder if anything.
yeah,
than high school.
absolutely.
Yeah. In high school, they can think for themselves. In elementary school, they're absorbing everything you're doing.
Yeah, so I think
There should be a lot of like child
elementary
psychology
school
involved.
teachers have a little bit of a different learning curve in terms of what they're actually supposed to teach and
Yeah, but at the
learn
same time, like high school teachers theoretically would have to know harder material, and they
Well,
would
yeah,
have to
no,
know
I
better
mean,
to
when
teach it.
when I say that elementary school teachers have a different learning curve, I mean like there are different aspects that they have to
Yeah, I think I see what you're
display.
saying.
Like they have to be more.
It's different traits that they have to learn,
understandable, yeah.
other than just like knowledge retention and able to.
So I just think that their learning course to be a teacher will be a little different than those of like a college professor or a high school teacher. I'd say testing is probably one of the.
Because as it stands now, you can just drop out of high school and go get your GED and then be done. And you can just immediately start college.
True, very true.
Like, I could have dropped out freshman year, taken my GED, and gone to UNLV like what would have been my sophomore year.
Yeah. It would have definitely jump-started that, but I think having those few years as a social thing as well is needed, just to kind of develop person to person, not just simply in educational form, you know?
Sort of, but at the same time, they haven't found correlation between homeschooled students and students that go to public schools as far as like their social skills.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Those extra years might not actually be needed.
It might not be. I'm obviously, I think it's because of the this system that we have now. If we revamped it, I think that people would be more inclined to communicate with each other and more comfortable. I guess students. There you go. Just throw it on the ground.
No.
It's sacred. It is the way.
Sacred text.
It's there's gotta be a better way to do this.
What do you mean?
Come.
I'm coming.
I'm coming
Scoot over
home.
as much as I can.
Coming home. Okay, this seems alright.
Okay, bye.
And turn this
And
down.
we're all done.
No, but okay, so like,
I think the main thing that you were trying to get at was testing.
well, that's just one of the things that I've thought about in the past. It's like,
Well, yeah, absolutely. I think it's
it's
one of the biggest things
like-
right now. It's just it's so standardized that it's become a source of monetary income for schools and just keeping them afloat.
Yeah.
That's why they are like, oh, you have to learn this specific curriculum for us, not really for you.
I think that instead of history, we should teach philosophy. What do you guys think about that? Not
Well, I
just
still
not
think-
just like the study of philosophy, but like logic, reasoning.
Well, I don't
Finding
think
valid-
we should switch it out. I still think history is definitely a
I'm not
very
saying
serious
a
thing.
full switch. I'm saying like
I think philosophy
instead
should
of-
be added.
at just on top of
Maybe.
everything else.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's not like a huge thing. I don't think it needs to be like a.
What I
fourth.
would think is maybe what they should do is, because there's so much emphasis on like American history, and like obviously people should know their nation's history, but a lot of classes they always just do the same information. So if you do switch out some classes, I think maybe take out a few of the earlier
That's what I was thinking.
American history classes,
I was
and then
thinking like
like we still keep some obvious, some American
Yeah.
history in the U.S. obviously, but maybe like what I was thinking is like maybe the U.S. history for like later courses. Say like I think for us it was like junior year, and I think that would be pretty good because back then it was always just memorization. Well, now we with more cognitive ability, in high school we can actually think about the implications of the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking, okay, so you have 4 years of high school, right? First 2 years could be philosophy, and then followed by American history, then world history, is what I was thinking.
Well, I think it should be revamped at an earlier point, much earlier.
Oh, I think philosophy, or not philosophy, but like logic, or what is that, epistemology or whatever?
No, I think logic is its own school. Like epistemology is
it's just the study of how we think, right?
How we get knowledge and whatnot.
I think
maybe logic, like a class of logic and reason.
Yeah, I think like logic and reasoning. I think that should start in like
but no,
first
I think
or second grade.
That we should emphasize at a young age, like kids understanding like general genres of stuff that they want to get into. Like expose them to everything.
Like
and then
careers.
Kind of. It doesn't really have to like.
Or just like thought things like science or English.
Maybe definitely. I'd say like it should start off quite obviously, kind of. Fucking school system, stupid piece of shit. No, maybe at like elementary school around there, they'll just have like English like area, math area, what have you. And then as they go on, they'll kind of diverge into it. But along the way, you're still teaching them a little bit of each thing, so that if they wanted to maybe change subjects or they didn't feel like they wanted to still do that.
That's like magnet schools. Magnet schools do that.
Yeah,
you can go to a magnet school specialized for whatever you're interested in.
Yeah, but obviously, people have to pay a lot for that, and that's not really...
No, it's free. There's private schools and there's magnet schools. Magnet schools are free. I went to a magnet school, and we didn't have to pay anything different. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
We didn't have to pay for transportation or anything. The bus went all the way out here. And it was fucking far. It was out by like...
yeah, it wasn't like an hour drive.
It was far. It was like a 45-minute...
Yeah, I went to one for like a few days, and like we lived... It was like east side, and then the bus was like north side, so they'll take a bus anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just... It should be emphasized more earlier on to like suit more to what the kid wants to do, and not just like, oh, you have to learn this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, they still need a wide range of everything.
Yeah,
so you're not
and like there's electives, but that's not really...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a very narrow, like, in terms of how many options you have, and electives depending on where you go.
Yeah, what if you had to, like, major in something? Like, what if they had, like, you have science, English, history, is there anything else I'm missing? Math?
Well, I think English would encompass history more, kind of.
You think so?
Yeah, I think there's just like 4 major things: science, mathematics, English, or I guess
literature.
Literature. We can do literature in that. That could encompass language. Like I'm trying to think of like a overall encompassing thing that will. Allow kids to kind of have some sort of path.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if when you get to high school, you have to pick one of those 3 schools, and you take general classes of everything, but like your science classes are that's the main further than advanced.
Yeah, I mean that's the main thing that you're going.
Yeah,
for.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like majoring in that.
Like, oh, you have maybe like 1 English class here, or
I mean, isn't that what the core classes in college are supposed to be like? Basically, so you get a
like
well-rounded education.
General ed.
And then just do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's definitely good. That could still be worked on. I don't know exactly in which way. But I think we're really thinking about like high school and earlier than that.
What if students were required to do a certain amount of honors or AP classes?
If they can.
I think
if they can't, if they can't, they fail. They redo it. That's what I'm saying. What if they were required to? Like, you're required to do English. If you failed, like, they don't just say, you tried, here's your diploma.
Well, I don't think you'll need.
No, I mean, they can still fail.
Yeah, they can still fail it. Like, if have you read anything about like IQs and stuff? Like, they're just people that can't.
Yeah, but like IQ is.
I mean, it's a pretty general thing, and it's not like extremely determinative to like a very specific point, but you know, people who are in a certain IQ range, they can only do so much. They can only go so far in terms of intelligence.
And also, you know, economic, like socioeconomics play a role as well. So,
but I'm just thinking that if you allow them to make the choice, like kind of have more of a control over what they're doing, you're not going to have to require them to pass. I mean, you know, like they have to pass, so they just have to keep retrying and retrying.
Yeah, but like
obviously you're going to need them to pass certain things to get to the next level. You know, that's definitely a must. But
what if instead of like grade levels, like once you hit high school, it's just you have to pass classes until like you get to like the minimum requirement
for whatever major you choose, not major,
not even that, but like what if like, okay, so let's just say, to put it like very basic, there's math 1, math 2, math 3, and math 4, and then there's something similar for all of them. What if like instead of being like a sophomore or a junior, you just have to hit the minimum requirements of all of them, but in one or maybe two of them you have to like get to 4?
in terms of like, do you have to get to these 4 if
You have to get to them and pass.
If you try to like major in those, or just
yeah,
there's just
like,
a certain degree like within the world that's like, hey, you know, it might not be something that helps you immediately like right when you get out, but it's going to help you in the future. Like this is something that's in a very general sense, it's going to assist you no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like you may not like it, but it's really
well, I mean, that's like most of school.
I think requiring a certain amount, definitely. I think there's still like a requirement needed for certain things.
How would you guys tackle teaching logic and reasoning in elementary school?
That's really tough. I think you'd have to have an understanding of teaching first. You know, being able to convey an idea to somebody and having them like going from absolutely not understanding it, then looking up to you as the person that they're supposed to be getting it from, and you know, conveying that. But I think there are some areas in the world where they have like those types of classes.
Well, the problem I see is with like parents, you know, because like if your parent doesn't demonstrate a great understanding of like logic and reasoning, then the kids suffer as well, and it'd be hard to teach it when the parents are constantly like going against it. You know what I mean? Because they absorb a lot from their parents.
That's probably just like a school that they wouldn't want the kids in. You know.
But it'd be like a
I'm saying education. Like it'd be public education guaranteed. All elementary schools are now teaching logic and reasoning instead of like phonics or something.
What's that?
If you had to take something out, that's like breaking the words apart.
I'd still have that.
Well, I mean
that'd definitely be like
that wasn't like a real
but just an example.
Substitute.
I think I just saw that like on
saying like if you had to take something out, because like so I was in my sister's first grade class volunteering this Friday and last week, and I was thinking about this while I was there, and I was just kind of watching the kids and trying to think about like how I would do it. And it's weird, man. It's weird thinking about kids, because like kids don't
shaping like the future. You know?
Well, yeah, but kids are just like mini versions of their parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not completely, but like 70%, because that's like where they've learned everything so far when they get to first grade. And it's like, how do you unteach things that these kids learn from their parents that are wrong? You know what I mean? Outside of just, 1 + 1 = 2.
Well,
I guess you would show them how what they're learning is wrong within the world.
Well, would you start class by saying that they're wrong, or like how would they come to the realization that their parents are doing wrong? Because obviously they might.
Let's try to find an example of something like that. What would you think of that? Because what I'm thinking is like you.
Because it's obvious, right? Like it'll happen. It's just like.
Yeah. Well.
I'm just trying to imagine myself like
trying to change their mind. Well, what I'm thinking is like you. Obviously, I think it would have to be more of an individual level, which is why you increase funding for teachers and whatnot,
Yeah.
and just make the field more desirable for people. And then I think if we have more teachers, we'll be able to teach students on a more individual level, because
I think
people don't want to be a fucking teacher.
I think someone was actually making something like that. Like it was a personal or private Aristotle. Like it was a computer program or whatever. And it's like, decades away. I think I saw it on, I forgot what that YouTube channel, but it was the one where it's like just a stick figure guy. He's British, or he's American living in Britain or whatever. He's pretty popular. I forgot the other day. But yeah, it was like a personal Aristotle, and it just like teaches people, and because I think it was a little bit of kids, but I think it could be applied to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like goes to their level of logic and reasoning, and then it sort of just supplements it rather than takes over in a sense. And yeah, I don't remember. I watched it like years ago, but I thought it was an interesting thing because it would be a personal thing, and since it was like a computer program, it'll also go hand in hand with the future of education, which is going to be further implanted with technology. But yeah, I probably have to look that shit up again just because it's been a while ago.
Yeah,
I think it would have to coincide with some type of like survey at the beginning. Like you survey how, like, I don't understand how like a general understanding of a first grader's understanding of logic and reason would go, or how would you go about that, but it would take some type of quiz for them to like go through, and it'll kind of generally put them in areas of like, oh, this kid thinks like this, or this kid thinks like that, or he thinks like this.
Yeah.
And then
obviously first we would have to like define those.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's
that'd be hard.
That's nothing that we could definitely
Oh,
discuss
absolutely.
here.
See,
But
I think you could just do it with like tests.
Yeah.
Like I think you could just have a generic test.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it places them in this type of.
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying like to teach them and to like test them on it. Like you wouldn't even have to like necessarily teach it first, but if you go over the answers afterwards, and then like you were saying, more teacher funding, if then the teachers had the ability to go in and one-on-one check with the students what they answered and why, and explain to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Well, what I was thinking is you take like a general like a survey quiz to see where they're at, what they think like, and then you can put them in, give them specific teachers. And when there's more teachers, you'll be able to get more one-on-one. Obviously there's not going to be one kid thinks so far differently that it's nothing like any other kid there. You'll be able to place them with a few other kids, and they can learn together. And I think it's probably 5 to 10 people, you'll be able to get more individual and understand each of these students. And maybe if you're trying to like change the way they think, not necessarily in a bad way, like thinking that they're wrong, but just telling them why certain things that they would have, I guess, decided on this test is wrong, or just doesn't work out in the real world. It just doesn't work out in the society that we live in. You can show them first where it would lead if their ideology or the way they thought kept going, and then if it was thought of more, or people like thought that way more, and then you show them why it's wrong, and then you show them a different way of thinking. And I don't know, that's a really hard one, because you can't just force somebody to think a certain way. That's why I guess they don't really have a logic and reason class, because
I think the goal would be more so like so we're teaching these kids what's like good and bad for them, like their actions, their behavior and stuff like that. But they only get a little bit of explanation, like it's like, oh, don't be crazy and loud because it's annoying and it's rude to other people, and then it like stops there.
Yeah, people want you to like be like acceptable.
Yeah,
or
I
it's
think
like, oh, why they want to do this. And
yeah,
that's something that you can like really get into, and I think that's something that's missing.
Yeah, I think the goal would be to teach these kids to start learning like how they should act and the repercussions. And not just act, but like how they should decide things and choose.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's really like, oh, this is how you should act. This is the way that it's acceptable. Not like in a bad way.
Yeah.
You have to fall in line,
Yeah.
be like other people. It's just, oh, you know, don't fucking shove people when you're mad,
Yeah.
or don't do this
Well, see,
when you're upset.
that's it too. Like that's what I found so interesting. Like some of these kids were just rude, and it's like they're in elementary school. I don't expect them to be not rude, but isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean,
Shouldn't-
have you heard the psychology of socializing children? You have to, like, if they're not, if you know, violent kids, or if you don't socialize kids between the age of 2 and 4, that they're going to be like that for the rest of their lives. Like, it might be able to be tempered a little bit certain way, but they're going to be an aggressive kid for the rest of their lives. You know? And overly aggressive from a general sense.
And they can never.
It's really hard. It's really hard to like change their mind like that. But between 2 and 4, that's when you want to socialize a kid and kind of discipline them.
Yeah. But like.
So I think it really starts on a much sooner level, and I think that probably takes some teaching on the level of parents.
Yeah. And that comes to another question too. Like, is the general population fit to educate their kids up to before first grade, elementary school? Or should there be required kindergarten that starts very basic stuff? Should kindergarten be public, or should it continue to be paid and private?
You mean like a people are kindergarten or preschool?
Preschool? Isn't no kindergarten's not required, is it?
I think kindergarten is required.
Might be.
I know preschool isn't required. You don't have to go to preschool, but you can.
Should preschool be required?
Well, it depends what happens in preschool. Like, I don't know. In preschool I went to, it was kind of just like really basic stuff, like, you know, 1 + 1, kind of behavioral tempering and
Okay, so
changing, I guess.
since school is mandatory for 6-year-old students, parents and guardians must enroll their children in school once they reach the age of 6. It is a local decision with parental input whether the 6-year-old student should be enrolled in kindergarten or first grade. So right now, the day you turn 6 is the year that you have to go to school. Otherwise, I assume the parents get fined or something.
Okay.
So
So
that seems late.
Yeah,
Is
so
that not late?
I don't know. I feel like that's really hard to tell. You know? I guess you'd have to understand.
child psychology.
You would have to have a better understanding of child psychology in the sense of these kids being away from their parents, you know, because that's really the only people that they make serious connections with, and they're not around them. You know, they can't really, I guess, normally interact.
What? Oh, it's another, like, it was like a video on philosophy, like how to introduce philosophy to children or something like that. I literally just like looked up philosophy kids, and then there's a TED Talk.
That's interesting. I like that.
I did send like a few links, so.
For sure.
But that'll be for after.
Yeah. No, I don't know. When I was in that class and I was thinking about it, it was just like, I don't know, these kids that are acting rude and whatnot, like, there's got to be some way to convince them that that is not a right thing to do, or that's not like good.
Yeah,
like, that's not the way to be.
It's definitely not. There's no definite ceiling. It's like, oh, you just can't change them. But that's after a certain point, it's much harder.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm getting at. And if that is possible, then the parents should be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe instead of requiring school earlier, maybe at the very least, like, the government should be putting out pamphlets or like information things for parents.
I think it should be somewhat required. Like, I don't think, obviously, having the right to bear a child isn't something that we should take away.
Yeah, we can never
but
control that. As much as I theoretically would like enjoy thinking about that idea.
Yeah,
like,
that's definitely something that you can fantasize about, but there should definitely be some type of credentials, or like, hey, you know, this is, if you want to be like a really good parent, this might really help you out. Like, we're not trying to shape your children in the way that we want. We're just saying, you know, if you want your child to have a better life, maybe go to this class or something. I'm not sure. I don't know really how you go about that.
What eugenics, y'all.
Do you think we should revoke the right to have kids from people?
No.
I wouldn't really necessarily say revoke, but like
Forbid.
Well, that's the question.
have
I'm
them
posing.
go through some sort of like course of just
understanding. I'm bringing up a totally different question.
Yeah,
just because like
just to be devil's
that'd
advocate.
be interesting. We could probably get to a.
I wouldn't. Like even if we
I'm saying
couldn't find some way to better a child's life, like to do
Yeah.
that, I wouldn't bar people from having kids. I mean, obviously they do that in China.
Yeah, but it's only like to an extent, isn't it? Like you just can't have more than a certain amount of kids or something.
Before you
And
could
you're
only
just
have
fine.
one, and now you can have two.
That's fair.
They changed it because people would, they would want kids to carry on their name. But
So they would go to if they had a girl, they'd give her.
because when they get married, they lose their name.
Yeah, which is just fucking stupid.
Yeah, they would just throw
anyways.
them on the street. That's fucking insane, man. I couldn't believe it.
Like I told my dad I wasn't having kids, and he got pissed because I wasn't going to carry on the Bannock name. Because I think I'm the last male Bannock. Yeah. It's gonna die with me.
I think you're gonna have kids. You'll see.
You can at least just donate your sperm. That way, someone has your genes. They won't have your
Yeah,
name.
but like it's more
it's
the
the name,
namesake
not
that
I mean,
people want to
People
pass
think
on.
that the name carries the genes, but it's like
There will be other Bannocks.
It's just I don't know. It's just stupid. Like the idea of passing on your namesake like further down is just fucking stupid. You should want to pass on your ideas, not just a fucking
Yeah.
word.
I don't know. That's how people were raised before. Just carry on the name. Just carry on the name.
Yeah.
Not carry on some good ideas. Like fucking. Obviously, recently they've been like better the generation, better the next generation, so if they're better than us or whatever.
Yeah. Do you guys want to move on to the next question?
Yeah, that's definitely a super loaded question.
What would be the most likely meaning of life?
Shit, I was just gonna say about Plato's Republic.
You could say it.
Oh, well, we can do what Plato wanted to do via dialogic Socrates. The perfect republic would be where kids are taken from birth and they're raised in a community with a certain doctrine in mind, and then only the wisest in philosophy will rule. So that's always a good route.
Yeah, sounds interesting to me.
Fashion.
It's definitely a route, but of
Do
course.
you guys think that we should have philosophers as politicians only?
No, I mean, because if you go Plato's route, only
mean-
they were the ones allowed to lie. No one could lie ever at all.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask philosophers like, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, they don't want to, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, we shouldn't force people to be like, oh yeah, we want you to lead our country.
I'm not saying like you should force them or not. I'm just saying like if they were in that position, do you think they would do a better job?
I would think that they should at least have some training. Like, they don't have to be philosophers, but some basic just education in philosophy
And
would just be better. Would make it better. Won't solve all the problems, obviously, but to force it to
I
be...
feel like a lot of them do.
What do you mean?
Like a lot of them. Well, not even a background, but they probably took a class or two in college.
Well, I mean,
yeah,
like
that's
more of a
that's
minor.
class or two, but
More like
Yeah,
a
I
minor
think-
in philosophy.
Is that not like a
deeper-
basic? Are you saying more than just like a class or two in college?
I think it should definitely be more because I think philosophy is an understanding of other people's ideas. Or like you obviously you take a stance on one side, but it's allowing a dialogue and being able to understand somebody else's ideas, even if they go against your own.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of built into it, and I think that should be more or emphasized more in school.
Mm-hmm.
Is even though you might not like somebody else's ideas, you should definitely hear them out. And that's the foundation of America, is
Yeah.
hearing other people's ideas, even if you don't like them.
Oh, forgot to mention. Plato also doesn't want poetry or literature in his Republic. Just a side note.
Why?
Do you know anything about the Platonic forms?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I learned it, but I forgot it.
It's essentially that there's an ideal form of everything. So an
Oh
ideal
yeah,
color.
yeah.
And so poetry and just any type of storytelling is an imitation of an imitation. And since they obviously have the power to influence without any physical form, you don't want that in your perfect republic.
I can dig it.
I can't dig it.
I can dig it.
I don't know.
stories are really just anecdotal, and if they try to teach
Well, yeah,
moral or something,
they're
then
definitely
they're based on nothing.
Yeah, no, they're definitely imitations of prior stories, and there's always some type of archetype that goes into each story. You know, the good stories that come, like Harry Potter, stuff like that, they follow a certain storyline.
I mean,
not like a
technically, they all
storyline.
kind of follow their own philosophy too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's like the story build is kind of the same. You know, there's a hero, there's a problem, he confronts the problem.
Yeah, but like the
Fixes it.
details there are completely
Yeah,
that's
that's what makes it different, and I think the details are really what makes the story understandable to each generation. You know, if we're sitting in this century and all we have is the original forms, the original stories from 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, or you're gonna be like,
well, technically those wouldn't even exist, but like it doesn't need to appeal because fiction is purely entertainment. No, anything you get from it is coming from someone, and they may or may not be a reputable source.
Yeah, but you can interpret it in different ways. Like you can read Shakespeare one way and then read it another.
Yeah, but like that's limited because you can only come to a finite amount of conclusions from a specific fictional book with
You'd be
proper
surprised.
logic.
There's a lot of different schools of literary criticism, and there's always like another one coming on. Like we didn't always have Marxist readings. We didn't always have structuralist readings, post-structuralist, destructuralist, and like it is just sometimes absurd. But it's
are those fiction or are those non-fiction?
I'm
talking about fiction strictly.
Oh,
like fictional stories.
I don't think they're purely for entertainment.
What else would it be
if
for?
you read Dostoevsky, it's kind of like the prophecy of what's happening in the future. Like if you read The Devils from Dostoevsky and then you read the Gulag Archipelago, what happened in the concentration camps in Russia, it happens the exact same way. Some people, they write fictional stories, but they're laying out something based on ideas that are in the present.
I think the more obvious example would be Orwell. 1984, Animal Farm.
I mean,
but that's still pushing a political agenda from one guy who is, I'm assuming, not formally educated extremely.
What do you mean? Orwell?
Did he have a master's degree in political theory or something, or did he just write a book because he thought that might happen?
I think I don't know anything about him, but I mean, that's
what I'm saying.
But it's not merely education then. In that case, then. Or no, it's not merely entertainment then. If he's trying to push a moral, then it's educational as well.
Yeah,
and it's fiction still. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't put any weight on that because he's not reputable. How is he reputable? He's just some guy.
Well, I don't think you need a master's or a doctor's degree in a certain subject to be reputable to anything.
Yeah, I think he's just making an argument.
Yeah, I'm just saying, anyone can go write a fictional book, and if it happens to be right, that doesn't automatically make it educational.
Yeah, I mean...
It's still entertainment. You're reading it to be entertained, maybe to find a new idea, but isn't that entertainment already?
I mean, if you're...
What defines something as fiction?
Not true?
But what if it's not true right now and true in the future?
That is irrelevant. That is irrelevant.
But it's prophesizing the future. What if that?
Well,
it's fiction now. And
they could write it, and they might be right, but that's irrelevant because
it could involve
it's not guaranteed.
It could involve people with made up names. It's like realistic fiction. It's fiction that's realistic, but it's still
what if they were wrong? You can have a really good idea of something that might happen, but you can never be that sure. And even if you are I guess not even that, because you can't be. But like you were saying, someone writes a book and what happens, something very similar happens in the future, that still doesn't make it not fiction at the time. It's just one guy's extrapolation of what he thinks might happen. What value do you get out of that book is my question.
It makes you think.
That's entertainment.
So everything educational is entertainment?
No, but it can be.
But
something
it doesn't
I think he wasn't saying that.
It's not putting forward concrete ideas.
I think
that exist.
Yeah, I think.
Then what about philosophy?
Yeah, I mean
philosophy. It's dealing with real things.
Well, kind of.
Kind of. I mean,
like, it's
Plato.
thoughts aren't, like,
Plato. I mean,
grand
most of his
things.
philosophy was through dialogue form, which is a story. But like, if you read it, it's not really that entertainment, and obviously that's a subjective point. But it's meant to make you think. And I mean, if you've read it, it can be entertaining, but it's also just educational. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking it differently. I obviously we're thinking it differently, but maybe I'm going in a different direction. Because I'm just thinking of all of like the serious literature, and it's entertainment, obviously, but it still has serious implications and thinking. It's like you could think of Macbeth. Macbeth is all about ambition and whatnot. It's a play, so obviously if you watch it, it's entertainment, but the moral...
You can derive meaning from it.
Yeah, and then like that. I mean, I guess that's fun. I enjoy doing that, but I think you can. Like, it has more serious implications than just binge watching some show on Netflix. And I don't want to have that high art, low art comparison, but that's obviously up to the person, up to the
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Because again, like if you look at Shakespeare, it's like a lot of high end stuff, and I'm just doing that because like it's an obvious,
It's a well known.
Yeah, like I don't think anyone will disagree that it's not a form of high art, or at least it's something that makes you think. So obviously, like some people fucking talk like Harry Potter for one. Like it's like people, they debate over the seriousness because on the one hand, it's just not. It's just written like it's a very basic book. It's not hard, but like the type of morals and if it makes you think, if you talk to like some English professors that they'll be divided. Some will scoff at you, and then some will not. But like, yeah, that's why I go back to Shakespeare and whatnot, because it's already kind of settled.
Yeah.
And
I see what you're saying. I think I have a pretty good grasp of what
my
you're trying
view,
to say. I guess like my qualm with it is that anything that you can learn from that book either comes out of your mind or the mind of the person who wrote it.
Right.
It can only come from one of those two places.
Isn't that instruction though? I mean,
sort of, but like it came from somewhere else. And obviously when they write these works of fiction, it comes from somewhere else. But if it's not reputable, then like what are you getting at?
Well, I mean, one thing that comes to mind, and I think it might be reductive or oversimplified, but the order of operations in math, some people don't do PEMDAS at all. And they've been taught at school that that's how you do it. Like they might do the opposite. Like I don't know if you see like online, like people like they'll have like
those like Facebook things.
Yeah, and then
what's
like
the answer?
they get like
everyone's
the
like PEMDAS.
Yeah, and then like some people get like some ridiculous, and even people who do PEMDAS, they still get a different answer because they don't consider this thing as multiplication or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of hard to get a reputable source in anything really, because obviously people have biases always. Like it doesn't matter if you do empirical science, because a lot of things that scientists might do, especially like not peer-reviewed research studies and whatnot, they're obviously going to be trained, or not trained, but they're gonna like think every little change, I guess, in the results or whatever, just any sort of observation is going to be proof of their I guess hypothesis. Like I'm trying to word it right, because like if you take in statistics, there's like a p-value and all that that's like the amount of proof that you need to go with that hypothesis, and then obviously a lot goes into it, but essentially people are kind of biased to want in science, they want their result to be true. And again, it's like it's not always like in peer reviewed, it's always like in those simplistic, and it's always like a study of 12 people or something like that. It's obviously not representative of anything, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be kind of hard when you say reliable or reputable. It's kind of hard to detach in a sense, because there's always going to be some sort of bias, and obviously we should try to get away from bias, but
yeah, but then like I just feel like it's much harder to derive like true learning from fiction than obviously nonfiction.
Right.
But I think that the gap there is fucking ginormous.
Well, yeah, but what do you define as true learning? Like something that's definable in the real world, or
here's what I see. I see entertainment versus actual like learning something. So, something true.
Okay.
I see like a fucking hard wall there.
Okay.
I don't really see a hard wall.
I think it's, again, I come back to that.
You can learn while you're being entertained, but I'm saying like fiction would fall hard under just entertainment. You can learn things from it, but they will come up from your mind or the mind of the person who wrote it. Nonfiction, it's all true. Everything you're reading is true.
Mind of somebody who wrote it.
No, if it's nonfiction, it comes from the world. Yes, it was written by someone.
It might be there.
And if they have like their opinions in there, it should be clear. And if it's not clear, then you probably shouldn't even be like reading it, or you should at least be able to like understand that someone's opinion is in there. Because in which case, that is not. Well, I mean, I guess it's still nonfiction, but still, like, I'm just saying, like, empirically true stuff, and then you have, like, processed through someone's mind stuff over here. I don't know. I don't think that reading Harry Potter, you can actually learn anything.
Okay. I think that's basically what Plato's argument was that it's so open to interpretation that you can just get away with anything, essentially. Yeah. While obviously the empirical or just the stuff that you can prove or that has been proven again and again, you do learn. That's guaranteed to, well, not guaranteed, but obviously it's going to be something that is provable.
Yeah. I just worry about people who read like fiction, then they go through it, and then suddenly they agree with the moral stance or the ending moral of the story, so to speak, just because they read the story and that's how the events played out in the story. Like, it's fiction, it's what someone thought might have happened. It is not evidence that moral is like true or right.
Well, I think that's why we probably need those English and philosophy classes, just so that you can think about it rather than just accepting what's just given to you on a silver platter.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, like 1984, like that specifically, a lot of people think that's communist regime, but, there's never really any implication that it is. I think they just call themselves comrades, but I mean, fascists call themselves comrades as well, so you can interpret that as a merely communist thing, and then you might think that might be a conservative reading. You might think that's a fascist read, leftist kind of reading. But obviously, if you just read it and then you're able to have your own thinking, you can say, oh, maybe it's just an authoritarian regime that can apply to anybody, or just whatever. Because I think like even fucking, and it's just, I'm just saying this to fucking be funny, but like Hillary Clinton, she fucking said that reading 1984 is proof that you have to trust authority and some shit like that.
That's like, see, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's probably some, like, she or whoever fucking told her to write that, they're that kind of person that reads whatever is just handed to them.
Yeah, and they believe it.
Yeah. And that's just, like, that's why it would probably, if anything, that's more proof to put some sort of philosophy class.
And to tie this back to like school, something I thought about were like how kids books.
Which is it?
The one right there. Yeah.
Like kids read those like those like Junie B. Jones and shit like that. It's like there's morals in those stories.
Yeah.
Morals that come from just some random person who decided to write it, happened to get published, and kids enjoy the stories. Now they're learning things from this book. From who? From who? And that's just one example.
Junie B. Jones, fucking Goosebumps.
Goosebumps. Yeah.
Well, I think that comes to an end when you tell them like, hey, this isn't real.
It does, but they still believe it for a while.
But like, what are true morals? What are exactly definable?
Wow, well, that
right
goes straight into our last question, and we can skip the middle one and maybe come back to it. Where do we get our morals?
Well, I don't know about where are we getting it, but I'm just saying like.
Are you asking
what would you
like
define as a true moral? I guess something that would be defined as a true moral is something that's understood by everybody regardless.
Well, I think it's relative. I don't think it's. I don't think it's like true. I don't think that there's like objective moral.
It is culturally relative because obviously in one culture, one thing could be seen as
Yeah,
offensive, and then
you
another.
learn morals
Yeah,
from somewhere.
well, you
family,
yeah.
culture,
Yeah,
peers,
but that's not
teachers.
really like an empirically definable thing.
Are you saying
that's
that people
something-
don't learn it from them, or are you saying that that doesn't make the morals empirical?
No, I was just saying like
Because I don't know where else people would learn. I mean,
you know,
books
there's
and all
no
that shit,
way you
but-
could write a nonfiction book about morals
Yeah.
that like define what is a real moral or what you should be doing or not. Obviously, that's just something in that person's head that they see as true, or that collective community that sees this moral as true, or something like
well,
that.
you
Are
could
you
follow
s-
through like the thought process. Like you could go by like just the consequences of actions and go from there. And
Are
if
you-
you avoid doing a slippery slope, you can provide a pretty good understanding of what certain things do to
Yeah.
like society, and then you can just let them decide.
Are you saying like a definition for a moral or an example of a moral?
No, okay, let's say like killing dogs. Morally, we see that as wrong as a community, you know? Just like as a general population in the United States, we say you don't kill dogs because those are our companions, you know? Like obviously there are people around that kill
Yeah,
dogs,
obviously.
eat dogs, they serve in the restaurants, whatever. But
Healthy dogs.
whatever. Sick dogs, it doesn't matter what kind of dog.
Well, I mean, euthanasia. They euthanize. They put them down a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
You just don't randomly kill a dog on the
Yeah,
street.
that-
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you walk by a dog, kick the shit out of it until it dies, like American
Yeah.
Psycho, where you fucking kicks the shit out of the dog
Yeah.
until it dies.
I'm not saying what you're saying wasn't clear. I probably shouldn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
said
yeah.
anything. I'm just like,
I got what you're saying. Like, you know, I mean, I don't see the truth in that either, just killing the dogs because there's just way too many. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
definitely a hard line to talk about, but that's not something we're talking about right now.
I mean, doesn't PETA like put down a lot of animals?
Yeah.
They do, don't they?
I think they do. I'm not sure. I don't know who exactly defines, like, oh yeah, this is too many dogs, we gotta kill them.
Well, like, is killing a person a true moral? Like, is that truly morally wrong? Like, we touched on it before, but like,
Yeah.
do you guys believe in objective morals? Like, is something good or bad definitely?
Well, that's what I was trying to get at, is that like you learn morals, you learn morals from fiction. There's no nonfiction book that will teach you morals.
No, you just kind of like learn it
Yeah.
through
but-
your life.
Yeah, well, life or how you're socially, what you're like in a community, what you're around, what you experience and whatnot,
Yeah.
and then you put that into a fiction book to, you know.
You can,
with your own
but
morals.
like just because you read a book that comes to like a moral conclusion doesn't mean that that moral is
I don't know
what's
if it's
accepted
really
in your
a moral
society.
conclusion, you know.
Well, if there's a moral of the story, I guess is what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
put
yeah.
those morals in a story, that doesn't necessarily mean that those morals apply to your society.
Yeah, no, I was just saying
That's one
You
way
can
that
still
they
learn.
can be conveyed.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. But what's the one thing that you should be learning morals from? Because you have to learn morals from somewhere to be
Your-
socialized in the
Yeah,
community.
your community, you learn it from them. Like your parents tell you, like killing is wrong. You know, you don't like read a book about a turtle who kills another turtle and then everyone's sad. Like you see that killing is wrong. People tell you that killing is wrong. People tell you that stealing is wrong, and they
But-
explain to you why. And then you have it happen to you, like someone steals your shit, and you're like, "That's not fair."
I think it's asking like, where should you? Should you get it from the community? Is that what you're asking? Or?
Yeah, there's nowhere else. I mean, yeah, you can get it from fiction. You can get it from fiction, but that doesn't mean that that's a moral that you should believe in just because you see something.
Yeah, and
But
it's a moral you believe in just because your community believes in it, or you know, a country believes in it, or a different country believes in it, or an entire continent just generally believes that. I mean, obviously, there's a certain point where it's like, oh yeah, you know, 90% of the world's population says that killing's wrong, so you know, it's generally something that we should follow.
Should we? But you just said that we shouldn't, even if everyone else thinks that.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm just saying, after a certain percentage, it's like, oh, you know, there's a small percentage of like psychopaths who don't really care and they kill people either way. But mass general population are like, okay, yeah, I shouldn't kill this person because he stole my wallet, or he kind of shoved me, so I should kill him, or something like that. It's just, I guess, just generally known that's, you know, killing shouldn't happen unless it's absolutely necessary, unless you're a psychopath and you enjoy it. But I don't know where I'm getting with that. I'm just trying to convey that you can learn from fiction.
And I'm not, like, I never deny that. I just question whether or not
I was
you
trying to
should.
convey that not all fiction is entertainment.
Oh, I mean,
I guess all fiction is entertainment. I guess the question is it educational?
I think like you can learn morals from it and everything, but I think like the act of learning or attempting to learn something from fiction is still entertainment, right? Because it's not coming from anything empirical. It's just saying this is a moral.
Yeah.
Because the story is not true.
Yeah.
It's fiction.
I guess so.
And it was completely created in someone's mind for the most part, usually.
Yeah.
So like that is not evidence of the moral, but the moral is still conveyed. So the moral is told to you without, I guess, real evidence. Like, yeah, you can say, like, you could even make a work of fiction that says, like, hey, yeah, someone stabbed someone else, their whole family was sad, everyone was sad, a bunch of these bad things happened. Whether or not it's true, like, it came from someone's mind to convey that moral, and that event never happened. So you should not take it at face, or you should just take it at face value, you know?
But what if it's based on real events?
Then it's nonfiction.
Well, I don't think so.
I mean, if it's influenced, then I think it is fiction. If it is,
It's still-
say, like,
yeah,
if they
it's still
change the
fiction, like, if you
names
change
and
the
whatnot.
There can be
it's
historical
different.
fiction. Historical fiction is different. I put that in a different category entirely because that is based off like real things, but usually
But it still didn't
historical-
happen though.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm getting at. But like usually historical fiction doesn't try to come to like a major like moral conclusion. And besides, like historical fiction is usually like, you know, some random soldier in Civil War or shit like that. But like it can still be based on true things, but if they come to a conclusion that was not, it's not based on like completely what actually happened, then you can just fucking throw it out. Like I can make a whole story about everything real that happened with Jeffrey Dahmer. I watched that movie the other day, My Friend Dahmer. Like you can make a whole story about like everything that happened with that guy, completely historically accurate and everything, and then at the end, like if you throw in anything that's not true and somehow tie it to the moral of the story, it's based on nothing. Like they're trying to convey that moral and they can do it any way they want because they control the story. You could convey any moral with fiction.
And you
Any
can convey
moral.
any moral with nonfiction as well. If you twist the
That's
story,
a little bit.
You twist the
Usually,
the-
in, like history books, like you could have a, you know.
yeah, if you're looking at from like if you look at World War II from a Japanese point of view, you're changing the moral of the story. You're changing viewpoint, and you're changing what you get out of the story. Like if you if you look at history of, I don't know, World War I from the American point of view, you get a different view and a different moral.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that that's not true.
Like if you look at a specific event, like say
The Russian
Jeffrey
Revolution.
Dahmer, you know, and the people that he killed, and
Yeah, but like it's based on real things. Like you can actually think about it. I can't think about whether or not Hermione Granger should have used her time turner to go back in time and do the thing she did. That it's not fucking based on anything. I can go back and I can think, should we have nuked Japan? That was kind of fucked up. Killed a lot of people. These actual repercussions happened, and I can follow that thought process. But like with fiction, like everything's made up. You know, like you can't follow through thought process. Like you can maybe come to like individual like thought experiments. Like if this is true and this is true, should this person do this? But then in fiction, unless it's like the end of the story and they leave a cliffhanger, they do something. That doesn't mean that's what they should do. It just means that that's what the writer chose for them to do and might have thought that that's what they should do. It's not evidence that that's what they should have done.
Well, I think maybe when an author does that, what they do is they offer that as a question for the reader to do. Like, it's not up to the author made the character say kill the person or whatever. But then
if you're just thinking about it, then it's fiction. It's entertainment.
So if you're just thinking about it, it makes it fiction?
If you can't come to a real conclusion. I'm not saying that makes it fiction. I'm saying that partially makes it just entertainment. Like you can learn things in your mind from it. Like you guys were saying earlier, that's fucking philosophy. Like a lot of the times it doesn't come to like a real conclusion. It just poses a grand question for you to think about. That's all based on completely real stuff.
Philosophy?
I'm not saying like physical things, but it's real concepts and ideas.
Well, wouldn't you say that non-fiction and like a moralistic type way is based on real ideas and...
Non-fiction or fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction.
Yeah, I mean the morals come from
people. I mean, I guess it's like a personal...
That stuff.
I guess it's a personal philosophy from someone. If you could definitely look at it that way. Like, yeah, you could definitely look at it that way.
Okay, I see where you come from. I still think that there's something you can learn from fiction. Morally.
I don't know. I just struggle with it because it's like none of that stuff actually happened. So none of those consequences are real. Like it's just a
well, yeah, none of those consequences
slope.
are real. But like, say you read a fiction book and it's like, holy shit, my life's happening like this book. What should I do? Like this might happen next. I mean, obviously, it's not saying exactly how it's going to happen, but like, you know, say you read The Devils by Dostoevsky, and then you're living in Russia in concentration camps, and you're like, holy shit, this is happening exactly in the way that it's going to happen, or that said, like in that book, it laid it out. Maybe if I react in the way that this book said, react as if I know what's going to happen next based on this book, and it turns out well for me, and it does that help you at all?
But what if I wrote a book that was completely identical, except it offered a different solution that wouldn't have worked? Should you then do mine or do the other one?
What do you mean solution?
I don't know.
It's
like okay, so like
The Devils isn't providing a solution.
Let's say there's two books on the table and they completely lay out your entire life somehow to a T, and then it says you drove to California for no fucking reason, and then it like said all this like negative shit that would happen that you avoided from driving to California for no fucking reason. Then another book offers something completely different, or like what you were saying, because they're actually in conflict. Like, let's say you were in that concentration camp. There's two books. Both of them, up to a certain point, are the exact same story. And they, like, line up with what's happening almost exactly. And then one says to do something drastic, and then the other goes the completely opposite way. And both of them come to a happy conclusion for you. That doesn't mean that you should do either one of those.
Well, yeah, it doesn't mean that you should do anything, but this might improve your situation. Like, you have nothing else to do. You can either just sit in a concentration camp and do whatever. Like, oh, hey, this is going on, or these events are leading to some type of future that this has been laid out before in fiction and non-fiction. Like, should you learn from those? Should you take those into account? Should you be like, hey, you know, this might mean something. Like, obviously it's not laying out how the rest of our life's going to go to the T, but along these lines it's going to happen kind of like that.
Not necessarily. It's fiction. It's just what someone thinks might happen.
Okay.
Like, is there something I'm missing here? Is there some like objective truth? Is this author a mind reader? Can they see the future somehow that I don't know?
You can definitely...
Just because they were right so far doesn't mean that the rest of it would be correct.
I mean, I'm usually just focusing on like the moral and ethical ideas that'll come up. Like they might be totally wrong, but that doesn't mean that the book or whatever was a waste because it's food for the mind in a sense.
I agree, and I think like you can extrapolate and think about things and come to your own conclusions.
Yeah, like
but I think like it's not evidence of anything.
Yeah, like I wouldn't go as far as to say, you know, that a book can be prophetic or that it'll mirror real life or anything like that. But like I'm just still stuck on that, like the moral and ethical. And I guess that's not reason enough, and then that still, you know, falls into fiction and whatnot. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that's a waste.
I don't think it's a waste.
Or that it's just merely entertainment, I guess. And that in itself is also educational. If not educational, then at least something for the self, like something where like Hamlet.
Absolutely,
Hamlet.
No,
like
I see exactly where you're going, and I agree. I don't think that fiction is purely entertainment anymore. I think you guys have definitely swayed me.
Yeah, that's really what I would just wanted to put.
I think that if you read fiction, like
an
from talking to you guys, I like it, the only conclusion that you can come to, or the only benefit that you can get, is like completely in your mind and from like extrapolation, and it ends at like a certain point. Yeah. Like you can't read nonfiction, and then follow that or you can't read fiction and then follow that fiction's like thought process, and expect it to apply in the real world. Yeah. It might,
but it might not.
But it probably wouldn't.
No, I get what you're saying, and I agree with that. Like, I probably wouldn't say that, you know, you should read just so you know what you can do in like an actual physical event. I'm always just like, you should do it for your own moral, just to either question yourself. It should never really just be something to reaffirm your philosophy or whatever. I think like you should always
see something that's against what you think.
You shouldn't just push it away.
You see a specific idea, or like say. I'm reading like Crime and Punishment right now, and it's talking about a guy who kills actually 2 people just so that he can get money. He's like having a hard time, so he's like going to the extreme to do that, and he's just going down the rabbit hole of, oh, well, what if you do break that barrier of killing somebody just because, you know, it's not for food, it's just so you can like take their stuff or their money, and like what happens after that. Obviously it's not going to say exactly this is how it would happen if you did it the exact same way, but it's like, oh, you know, it's going to like, if you're just a normal person, you're not like actually a psychopath, but you seem like you feel like you're on that brink, this might like, it's just not going to go well for you. It's just, you know, it's not going to be the best option or stuff like that. You know.
And it's debatable. It's like it's open for discussion. And I guess that's why
it's absolutely open to interpretation. That's exactly like what fiction is. It's for you to read it and then come to your own conclusion. Obviously, they're going to get by a specific story, and this is specifically how it's going to happen. But how you interpret that and what you pull from it is definitely meant for you. Exactly the opposite of nonfiction. Like this tells you exactly what happens in the real world, and no matter what way you look at it, you pick up a rock, you drop it, it's going to fall to the earth.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know. I agree, and I totally see that value, like a lot. I'm gonna make like a side like sub tangent, not to challenge, but just to bring up like another like kind of concept similar. I just have issue with people deriving too much
meaning
from fiction.
Don't get
just purely fiction. Like it doesn't prove anything, and people will read a fiction book and then completely change their mindset.
Like look at the Bible, look at any type of religious writing. Like those are nothing based in like actual fact, or at least there's not something that we can actually prove. You know, and then they like form their entire lives and their thought process around this one book, and they go about their lives with that, and they just don't. They don't change it because they think it's an absolute truth, and this is how you have to live.
Yeah, because it says itself, and it says don't.
Yeah,
not trust it.
If you don't live this way, you go to hell. You know, you fucking just burn eternally.
All religion is circular logic.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like, I think stemming from like how hardcore I feel about like determinism, just from like a worldview. Like if something happens, like it happened because of something else. Like nothing just happens. Because of that, I think with fiction, when people like pose a question and then they follow their own thought process, I think like the value there is just completely fucking lost. Because yeah, this might happen, 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 and you get further and further and further away from what would have actually happened. And I think like that's just, it sends it off in some place where you can only find like theoretical value.
I mean, that's what essays are, aren't they? Like,
Essays?
like essentially a novel is just an essay, but with a story involved. Because, you know, and I'm just literally just making this up right now, or just thinking this up right now. Maybe making it, but because like it's like in a novel, obviously it's doing what you're saying, you know, that it's going in one direction and then it keeps going on with all these implications that may or may not happen. And then with an essay, if you argue, and like obviously it's a specific essay, like if a book is about should you kill this person, then you do an essay on like should you kill a person in a specific situation, like euthanasia or whatever, right? And then an essay, they, you know, a basic essay just has arguments for and against and whatnot, and then it'll often also have implications. And then the book is essentially exploring those implications just with more imagination, in a sense.
Yeah.
And obviously, and like an essay, you know, you can always just argue against it. You can always argue that that won't happen, or that's not the case, or that the logic doesn't make any sense in a novel as well as in an essay.
Yeah, but like in an essay, if you say something that has a 25% chance will happen, like that's already like, anyone reading that essay is already going to go like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that that's exactly what fiction is doing, because fiction is like, hey,
It
this
takes more
happened,
liberties.
and then this might happen, so what if it did? Then this might happen, what if it did?
Mm-hmm.
Then this might happen, what if it did?
It takes more liberties.
Where do we get? Yeah,
Yeah.
It's explorative, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that, yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, explorative. And I think that's just like the difference between, say, an essay and a novel. And then obviously, you know, it's just like, it's a huge, you know, fucking, what's the word? It's not the best comparison, but it's just like, it's what comes to mind because both are essentially arguing for a certain moral or a certain choice.
Yeah.
Obviously, just one explores more and makes up more. Like, obviously, in an essay, you can't really make up shit because then that destroys your argument. And I guess that's kind of the difference between a novel.
I see, like, the main, you know, the main difference there.
Yeah.
Like, in an essay, you're explaining your ideas and everything, and nothing is left behind the curtain unless it's a bad essay. But in fiction, everything is left behind the curtain. You're just shown what the author wants you to see.
I mean, maybe that's what sort of differentiates a good writer or a good director or whatever from a great one, is one that can actually make it as realistic as possible.
Yeah,
if it's in that sort of domain.
Yeah, that's something I agree with a lot as far as, like, you know, entertainment in general.
Yeah.
Like,
that makes sense.
I don't know. And I guess, like, I really worry about, like, impossible hypotheticals.
Yeah.
And people, like, concerning themselves with those. Not because you can't, like, gain something from it, but because, like, I don't know, it's hard to determine the impossible hypotheticals from the possible ones. And you should really be weighing the possible ones, like, a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, because I had a
Wait, you could say anything right now. You don't have a mic. I'll block your mouth. Say it.
Yeah, because I had a friend who basically said he didn't like, well, he didn't like fiction, but when he did read fiction, it was like historical fiction. Like, he didn't like science fiction or any of that other stuff. But, you know, I would argue that you're missing out, but that's me.
Yeah. Do you guys want to move on to the next question?
I actually came up with something while I was in the bathroom, so to tell you.
Dang, that was
just to further our point that fiction is educational. I don't know what you guys have been talking about. But
I mean, like,
more or less.
I agree to that. Yeah. You can definitely learn something.
So, you know, if we're
you can come
talking
to
morally, you know, like you say, you're trying to teach morals within a community, and when you're teaching something, they don't necessarily get it. or they just don't understand it the way you're teaching it. You got to teach it some other way.
Yeah, you could provide them with a story that
like
agrees with the moral that you want to teach them.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
You appeal to what they like, and then you put the moral in it. It's just
absolutely.
Aesop.
So.
I just think that if that's the reason why you choose to believe in moral, you're not picking your morals.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it's like believing the moral. It's just the community believes a certain moral, and they use fiction as a different way to convey that moral to a certain place,
absolutely,
so they understand it.
Absolutely,
it should be like
that is like a good way to teach like younger people.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
Like anecdotal evidence, because anecdotal evidence is weak. You don't ever.
And that's what I see fiction as.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's kind of the line that I'm.
I mean, you're not like
drawing here.
There's no way that you can teach anything.
No, like it's worse than anecdotal
because it
didn't. Exactly.
No,
and that's not to say that it
that.
can't be true, and that's not to say that you can't you can't come to cool conclusions.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, basically, I mean, you probably shouldn't base your entire argument on anecdotal evidence. So you never should base an argument on
entirely
fiction.
on. Yeah, but it can supplement it. I think that's what we're all getting at.
It can definitely add to.
Yeah, it can add to it. It should not be the only reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
Do you guys mind cutting it short a bit today?
Sure.
Should
we wait the?
You guys want to save these for later?
Which one are we on?
We already kind of did. Where do we get our morals? I'm gonna say that we did that.
I don't think we really did.
I mean, like we kind of did.
Were you guys talking about it when I wasn't here?
No.
I just thought that we touched on it enough. Like we can still.
I mean, what else
we talked about it like it in society. We talked about.
I thought it meant. I mean, like morals as a base. Like, where do you get the idea of killing is wrong?
I mean, like we talked about that, didn't we? Like society, media.
Are you talking about like what's the literal source?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I don't know. Hellenistic world.
Oh, what?
Like the Greeks and
who's the first person that came up with the moral?
The idea of a moral, or like having
no, like as a society, who was like we shouldn't kill people because I don't want to be killed.
Maybe like one of the first few cultures.
Moses was when he went to the mountain. Got the ideas.
No, I mean I think what was Gilgamesh? I think Gilgamesh had some morals as well.
Oh, I think it's just.
I'm not saying like who was the person who did it. I'm just saying like it's interesting to think that, you know, we could just be fucking killing each other, but at one point someone was like, you know what? I don't want to die.
Hammurabi.
So I don't want you to die.
I think Hammurabi. I don't know the timeline of it, but I think he was at least before or around, around like the age of Judaism. But he was one of the first people. Who set down a code of laws, and his laws were essentially eye for an eye, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So obviously don't kill or you'll be killed.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like Moses and when he went to the top of the mountain, and it's if have you been watching any like Jordan Peterson stuff? If you go on his channel, he does like these.
The religion now.
Yeah, the biblical lectures, and he's seeing them as like a more of not like a way of life, but a way of understanding like the human psyche and the person as a whole. And it's really, I think you'd really like it if you watch that. You'd actually really enjoy it.
Can you send me the link later?
Yeah, it's just you look up on his channel. He has, I think it's like 12 or 13 lectures. They're about like 2.5 hours long.
Each one?
Yeah, but they're.
Is it like
you can jump in and out?
Okay.
Obviously not at certain points, but listen to it for like 30 minutes, go back to it, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
But he was saying that. When Moses went up to the mountain, and he like sat up there and he was just by himself. He was like, clear mind, probably like not eating a lot.
If he did.
Yeah, if this happened, obviously.
Wait, is this fiction? Should I even like care?
Yeah, well, we're talking about
extrapolating.
Morals. We are talking about morals right now. So.
Yeah, I'm just fucking.
But like when he went up there and he like God, they think of God as like consciousness. Like God is what gives us our thought, and that's just something that they didn't understand, like where it came from in terms of the human mind. But when he went up there and he wrote down on the tablets, he wrote it because he's like, these are things that we've been following this whole time. Like write it down or not, we don't want to just kill each other. We don't want to steal it from each other. We want to treat each other kindly and stuff like that. Like this was just something that we've had this whole time without legitimately laying it out and saying that it's there or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that morals are innate in people. I mean, like, look at animals; they don't kill unless they have to. You know, like, animals don't kill for sport; they kill like, oh,
Yeah, to survive.
They kill.
Well,
to
yeah,
survive.
but that's not necessarily morals. They just might not get dopamine from killing something.
Well,
just
yeah,
for killing
I
it.
think that's a little different. You know, like if I don't know of any animal that, other than humans, I guess, when they're like, oh, I kill game for fun. You know,
I
like, kill
believe
for fun.
apes do, don't they?
I don't think apes kill for fun. They definitely kill for
They kill for
hierarchical reasons.
Well,
Like,
they kill for
they
food.
usually eat plants, but they do eat each other.
Yeah, I know.
When especially for like power displays and disputes. Like if there is an ape that is tyrannical and oppressive to other apes, they'll get together, they'll beat the shit
Yeah,
out of
but
him,
like
and eat him.
sometimes like monkeys will hunt like smaller, different species of monkeys.
You know what's fun though?
What do they eat them?
The bonobos. They just solve every conflict with an orgy.
I don't know.
I'm a pass.
Morals.
I like not having AIDS. It's really nice.
You could probably have some protected.
I don't know. For a long time, it's been portrayed in art of interspecies
orgies?
sex.
Oh, interspecies? Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
that's been displayed in art for thousands of years.
Yeah, but those people were uneducated and fucking nuts.
Yeah, but they also had homosexual.
That's
acts
another
as well.
interesting moral thing. Like, back then, that was probably fine. Now, that's animal cruelty.
Yeah, but I mean, dogs will fuck anything, really.
Dogs are crazy, though.
Dogs fuck pillows.
Dogs
Dogs fuck couches. They fuck
Yeah, they
blankets. They fuck stuffed animals. They fuck humans. Like,
You know dolphins have sex for fun? You guys have seen that, right?
Yeah, there's a
Sure.
few animals that do that. And the
Yeah.
dolphin, like, I think there was
Yeah,
one where,
No,
like,
I thought dolphins were the only ones other than humans that
I
have
think
sex
some-
just for fun.
No,
some
the
primates.
chimpanzees give each other oral, and they do homosexual acts and stuff like that. It's done very much for pleasure, for sure.
Interesting.
But it's not that much. It's not that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Huh.
not a lot of species that do that. But they're just like
That's
sitting
interesting.
around and fucking eating fleas off each other's back. You want me to suck your dick? Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. And I think, like, as far as like morals go, as far as like apes, like I think they see value in the apes in their group, so that's why they don't want to kill them.
Yeah, wolves do that too when they do like power displays. They don't kill each other. They just they growl and they puff themselves.
But that's
up to
not
be
like
bigger.
morals. It's just
Well, yeah,
like-
no, it's like they see other wolves as still useful. They're not going to kill them to like be on top. They're just going to be like hey, I
Yeah.
growled a little bit longer and I puffed a little bit bigger, so I'm a big boy now.
Yeah.
I called shots.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's definitely a pretty steep mountain to climb or jump down. But we can jump on those if you want to just next time. We did these.
Yeah, these are old. So we have these two left over.
Mm-hmm.
We could probably just save both these for next time.
Yeah,
We don't need any new questions.
Unless you want to come up with one. I don't know which one you came up with.
Yeah, we do only have two for next week. But I think the meaning of life one will be interesting, but we
Yeah.
might finish
But
that
I
early.
think we'll have more time because we didn't waste 40 minutes beforehand getting that extra battery instead of everything.
Yeah.
But if you want to come up with something, if you got something, because mine's still there. I think that's yours, right?
This one's mine, yeah. I cheated. I have two. Sorry.
I don't know. Should we try to educate everyone? Should we try to get everyone enlightened, in a sense? To know more about, say, philosophy, more about abstract stuff that doesn't pertain to their jobs or, because like this applies to, say, scientists who are so mechanical, they just do sciences, and also say like philosophers, let them study stuff other. Like, should we make everyone well-rounded, in a sense? Make everyone readers?
Yes.
Or should everyone be that sort of thing? Because you can argue that practically it probably doesn't
Like
matter.
that question.
For like the average Joe, because like
Educated
most
/ enlightened.
Americans probably don't read. I think there's like a study about that, but should they? Like they aren't really. They should obviously. That'd be my preference, but should they really? Because
Well, I think that also entails something else is reading the best form of educating.
Maybe not just reading, but like just any sort of. Should
Any
they just
form
do
of
any sort of?
education that's beyond what they are doing
Yeah.
to sustain themselves?
Yeah. Should they like just mindlessly watch?
So I put, should everyone be well educated / enlightened?
Yeah, in a sense.
Is that like?
Let's.
you want
I'd
me to
say,
change it?
I'd say beyond.
No, I think that.
Beyond. What
Just
they
like-
need to survive.
I'm trying to see if I can word it better, or if there's like a word for it, but basically,
Because I'm thinking that you're talking about.
just like learning more than just what's necessary in life.
Yeah. So. what they need.
Necessary in life in our
Further,
society?
further
or
in society, in
necessary-
society,
Okay,
in
yeah.
society. Because obviously, you don't fucking need to know Plato in order to, live in the woods. Obviously, but like, like if people go to a trade school, they don't know anything else aside from their
Mhm.
job. Should they bother?
Should you?
Cool.
bother?
That'd be a good question. I like that one.
I want to bother.
Aren't we bothering right now?
Hold on.
You're bothering
I
me.
will say I'm excited for these mics.
My brain.
All right. I think that wraps it up for today. No?
Mm.
We're done?
Shishin.
Anything
Shishin,
anyone wants to
Shishin.
say?
Thank you.
Shishin. Arigato.
Shishani.
Boy. Boy.